It's another round of Soccer's Morning Show, Soccer Down here. And good morning to all of you. Last night, there was soccer in Atlanta. And it was the AmFam Cup 2 Electric Boogaloo. And we figured that'll take up a lot of the time this morning. And zero wrong with that. John here, Jarrett there. And we'll get into it. It was crazy. I thought it was only going to be something like 2-1, maybe going to PKs, but no. Completely and totally just nuts for a bunch of different reasons. And we'll get into that. We'll get into the two separate 45s. A lot of stuff to talk about with the young kids. And, Jarrett, just from 30,000 feet before we get into it, wild night, 7 goals, and a lot to talk about.
Yeah. It's chaotic night. The AmFam Cup takes no prisoners, apparently, because it's funny now because apparently apparently anytime we bring a team from Liga MX into a Mercedes Benz stadium, things are going to go off the wall.
Yeah.
Because for a preseason friendly, well, it's a regular season friendly. If you're Toluca, it got chippy.
Yes.
It got real chippy for a bit there.
In the first half, they went chippy.
Yeah, they were playing around, man.
I mean, it was physical. There were fouls that weren't called. It was, and
that's par for the course, though. I mean,
and that's the thing. Like you got to give Toluca credit for reading the room. It's like, okay, what can we do? Go right up to the edge, and getting right up to the edge and push and test and push and figure it out. It's like, okay, where can we go? Where can we go? Where can we go? We knock somebody over. We chop Thiago Almada down in the first 45. Okay, we'll keep doing it until it gets a whistle. And being next to the bench and hovering behind Rob Valentino and Gonzalo Pineda last night, it was let's just say it was interesting discussions. Let's put it that way. When things either weren't called or it was called entirely too late.
And that's the funny thing is, I feel like you know the GIF of Andre the Giant, like whoa. Yeah, I feel like that was the referee in last night's game, simply because I don't know if he expected to get that kind of game.
No.
He probably thought, this is a friendly. It'll be fine. Oh, God, they're going to kill each other. Jesus, what am I going to do? Because, man, it got chippy. It got chippy real damn fast.
Yes.
Yeah. But you know what? You got a lot out of that game. I think you got entertainment for the fans who finally got to see them play. Because I feel like that's, what we've been looking for is, how does it look? Like we've seen it. You saw some in Chattanooga. That's early in preseason. You want to work out the kinks. That's fine. The games in Mexico, you weren't really able to watch. And then you get last night where you're able to see some good, some bad. You want to see, I think, more from the midfield. And that goes without saying.
Yeah.
And it's you saw a couple different performances in prove-it situations to me, because Mateus Asetu is in a prove-it situation, and I think he can be really good, but he was loose with the ball last night. And I love that Toluca came in and is a team that plays the way they do. I'm glad they punched Atlanta in the mouth, because you need that in preseason. You need to be facing. You don't need to be playing, old school. 1AA Southeast in your preseason games and warm-ups. This isn't ramping up in college football. Like, I want them playing teams like this who are going to push them.
Right.
Who are going to challenge them. You're playing live fire drills here? Cool, man. We're going 100%. We're going full speed. And I'm glad you got that. But he was a little loose with his touch in the midfield, if Ibarra was as well. Those are things you got to clean up, because there are bodies coming for you and coming for those positions. And Gonzalo Pineda is not afraid to play the kids. And on the other end of that spectrum of the prove-it situations, Machop Chol, who I thought for 40 minutes was outstanding at the 9. Mm-hmm. Almost had an assist laying that ball off to Almada. Hit the crossbar on his own. provided really good pressure. The fact that he is built like a spider does not hurt. He's so damn long; it's hard to dribble around him. And he provided a lot of good work off the ball. Was not wasteful when he got on the ball and did what you want him to do to be a backup striker. And it's a big prove-it year for him. He was injured all last year. Even when he played with the twos at the end of the season, felt like he was pressing. This is a chance for him to prove something. And a couple of those guys going to have questions. And you got to see how they respond throughout the season. Overall, I mean, first half was wild. I mean, that second goal that Toluca scores is inch perfect.
Yeah. Defense
collapses and gives him time to line it up. And I wasn't even mad at Westberg on it. Like, Westberg gets a touch to it, is not saving that. That's the defense hung him out to dry.
No.
Because the defense collapses like a dying star into the middle and allows that shot to come off. Westberg somehow gets a touch to it, just not enough of it. The first goal is, it's sloppy. It's the midfield has issues. It's a new pairing in the back there with Prata and with Cobb. You want Cobb to do a little better there, but Prata has to, that's one of those, where Prata has to turn his man left. Don't let him get on his right foot. This is the old Iron Robin thing of, what are you going to do? We're going to let him get on his left foot. No, you don't want to do that.
No.
You don't want to let him right there get on his right foot where he can put that shot on frame.
Yeah.
You want to force it left. I thought Cobb did that really well. 5 minutes later, there's a situation where, where Cobb is able to usher things out and basically take away any danger in the box. Basically force the guy towards the end line where he can't do anything. And that's what you want to see in those moments, especially from a guy like Cobb, who had a couple of moments where you wanted to be better. And then he would follow them up with better moments, because you have to have a short memory. Because, as I say, the amount of people who are going to feel sorry for you on that field is precisely zero.
Yeah.
So you cannot feel sorry for yourself if you make an error. And I thought he did a good job of that, of taking those bad moments and not letting them define his game. Right. Still improvement to be had, but again, it's an 18-year-old kid.
Yeah.
We'll see what it looks like.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're hunting for here. So I think it's just safe to say that now that everybody's in the room, the Atlanta United match and kits are what we're looking at here for opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee. We're just obviously going to keep going. There's your QR code for everybody who's watching on Twitch. Do not forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15 when it comes to Kickoff Coffee. And in turn, you get 15% off of your purchase. And thanks to everybody who has been purchasing from Kickoff Coffee, because in turn, they take 10%, roll it over into the youth game and youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at kickoffcoffeeco.com. Obviously, we've got Barcelona to talk about. We've got Champions League to talk about. We've got Manchester City to talk about. I know that Bart is probably cursing the ground that he's walking on and has since about 4:50 yesterday afternoon. So we've got a lot of that to talk about. But you guys are talking about kits and jerseys and things like that. We'll get into that this morning too. But Jarrett's on a roll discussing Atlanta United. Here's your breakdown of the goals. Brooks Lennon in the 15th minute with his left foot, by the way, puts it in to make it 1-0. And then 2 minutes later, Luis Araujo, who just continues to, you run out of words. And I will admit that when we were doing the halftime show last night on Peachtree TV, Emily Gagnon and I off air, I used the word sexy. And so, of course, when we're on air, Emily reminds everybody that I used the word sexy in describing Luis Araujo in that second goal, Jared.
Yeah, and that's kind of what it was.
You literally just run out of words at times. And Luis, and once again, it's one of the things that has been one of the tent poles with Gonzalo Pineda. It is early pressure, create opportunities, and just rush back down the field and go the other way.
And that's what I thought Bishop Scholl did well in his limited time before he went off with precautionary. They said apparently there was tightness in his hamstring. I sounded like he felt it
Yep.
tug on him, and then he went down. And it's a preseason friendly.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully he's okay because, yeah, I was really impressed with what he did. I did not ever peg him to be this guy who could potentially be a 9, but yeah, but here we are, and I thought he did well in it, and Jackson Conway did as well when he got on the field. We only saw Daniel Savatu for like 2 minutes, so hard to take anything away from that.
Yeah.
But the kids, especially, the kids looked all right, man. Arujo's goal was just absolutely filthy because it's a great ball to release him.
Yeah.
And then he just holds down the sprint button like anyone who's ever played a good game of FIFA in their life and wins that foot race. But the thing that gets me and the thing that makes it like special to me is that he's able to hit the air brake, keep control of the ball, and cut it back.
Yeah.
And able to put a shot, to the near post after the keeper. Seeing him cut back starts that hop to his right, Luis's left, to try and close down the rest of the goal mouth. Luis just kind of casually plays it back in a very evil and rude way back into that near post. It's a great finish from him. We felt so optimistic last year with him coming into the season. Hopefully he is able to carry that through into the regular season consistently.
Well, and to your point, what was running through my brain with Luis was Maverick and Top Gun. Basically, I'll hit the brakes, he'll fly right by. And you got that from Luis in that particular moment. He was Maverick in Top Gun, and the guy hit the brakes, the Russian pilot, and I'm talking the first one. Hit the brakes, he'll fly right by, and then it was either in training or against the Russians, I forget. But the plane goes through, he hit the brakes, Maverick ended up doing what he needed to do. So maybe we should just start calling Luis Arujo Maverick. I don't know, but you got that first 2 goals on the board. Then Ivan Lopez, you had a 2-0 lead, and then Ivan Lopez
scored. Good about life.
2 minutes you did. Later, 2 minutes later, Ivan Lopez scores to make it 2-1. And then you mentioned the Bofo Salcedo goal at 45-3. And being
such
there.
Such a good finish, dude. It's so damn good, but the defense cannot collapse like a dying star like that in that moment. They've got to maintain their integrity, for lack of a better word.
Mm-hmm.
They were not able to do that.
Then you could almost see from the ground level, you could almost see Salcedo kind of gauge what was there, and you could see him sizing up the opportunity.
Yeah.
And it was just like, okay, all right, everything's just kind of opening up and things just slide a certain way, and you can kind of see in 3 dimensions how Salcedo is looking at it, and just absolutely pitch perfect to put it in to have it 2-2 at the break. And then you swap out 11s basically, and I asked Rob Valentino, I said, when was the last time you had 8 cards to hand to the table? He says, actually it was 9. And so you had 9 cards. Noah Cobb stayed, and Jackson Conway stayed because of the substitution from Machop Chol. All right, so let's get into the third goal for Atlanta United.
Okay.
And it goes McFadden, Fortune, Luke Brennan. And Luke Brennan will be his own little subset of conversation here coming up in a bit. But the ball from Aiden McFadden, basically close to center line, and the touch and awareness of a Johnny Fortune, knowing that Luke Brennan is running behind him as you're thinking about it. But the awareness that a Johnny Fortune had to flick behind, and Luke Brennan powers it past the number 1 keeper for Toluca. I mean, it was a great moment for the kids. It was a great moment for this group in the second 45. But once again, McFadden, Fortune, who was in for, I think, like 20 minutes, and Luke Brennan. We've seen that with Atlanta United too. We've seen those 3 work and do well for Atlanta United too. But to see the 3 of them combine once again the way that they did against the number 6 team currently in the Clausura in Liga MX. I thought it was pretty. That's the best way I can describe it. Just bang, bang, bang. It was a pretty goal for goal number 5.
It was. It was very pretty. It was just clean, man. Like, we know that McFadden has that in his bag. The funny thing to me was the fact that Caleb Wiley comes off, unfortunately, with the head injury. And then they're like, we're just going to put on, we had a guy go out because of an injury going up for a header. Cool. We're going to put on a guy who is unholy good at headers. And that's exactly what they did. And that's exactly what he is. Like, he is, if y'all haven't seen him before, Aiden McFadden is like comically good at headers.
He has hops, I believe, is the term the kids use.
Yeah, it's not even just that, man. He's so good at the timing, the positioning. Yeah, and he does have hops. He has that skill where, like, that some dudes just have where, like, when they jump, they just kind of hang in the air. That's what he does.
Yeah.
But it's a really good ball from him. Yeah, Johnny Fortune just shows out in the AmFam Cup. Apparently, that's just what Johnny's going to do.
It's on the resume.
Yeah, basically. So it's really good from him to just kind of flick it on perfectly. It's just a perfect little flick ball back, and then Luke Brennan just so composed in that moment, does a great job, doesn't let the moment get too big for him. I said last night, like, if you want to start, if you're looking to lay, it's almost Easter, so, well, I guess Easter's the next holiday, so I guess if we're picking Easter candies, like,
yes,
put your favorite Easter candy on a certain player getting the next homegrown deal.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a bad bet. He's still committed to South Carolina, but those can be skipped.
You know, Tony Annan, we love you, but
We love you, Tony, but we might take your boy from you. No offense, but we might take your boy from you. But yeah, it was an incredibly good finish from Brennan. And then you get 2 goals coming back the other way. That it's the kids dealing with it's the kids dealing with professionals and getting caught out.
Okay, well, all right. And this was a point that you made in our production chat. Toluca was time wasting against kids.
It's like, it's not even like just to make fun of it's not even just to make fun of, like, the AmFam Cup, because, like, we have, like, I know it's a running joke for the entire community, the entire, like, fan base of like we're gonna play up the AmFam Cup and we're just gonna have fun with it, because, again, sports are fun. They're meant to be fun. You're meant to have fun. If you're not having fun, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
If you're not having fun, go do something else that is fun for you. But it was hilarious seeing this team that damn near won the league. I believe it was the Apertura.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, they lost in the final in the Apertura.
Yeah, they lost in the final of the Apertura. Time wasting against a bunch of teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's not anything to, like, it's not anything to completely write home about. It's not the end of the world, anything like that. It's just funny in a vacuum. You're like, y'all are time wasting against kids.
And
we would never do that. We absolutely would do that. Absolutely
would.
Yeah.
But I mean,
absolutely would do that.
Mm-hmm.
I want as many trophies as possible.
Yeah.
I don't care if they're playing the U8s. I'm counting that trophy.
Yeah, and Toluca, for those that may not know their current schedule, they had a game on Sunday afternoon. They are the standard bearer for the Sunday afternoon 1:00 game in Liga MX.
Ooh, yeah.
And go for it, Jared.
No, Coco reminded me the next holiday is actually Mardi Gras. That's correct.
All right. So then King Cake.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I've got to go into my office here in the next few days, probably like next week, and I'm genuinely, like, thinking, like, I'm just going to take a king cake into the office. I don't know if these people will know what to do with it. I don't know if I'm going to chip a tooth on the baby.
I'm sure
I don't really care.
I'm sure someone's going to chip a tooth on the baby, and they're going to go, "What in the ish is that?"
Well, that's not my problem.
No, it's not. It's their lack of foreknowledge, anticipating what a king cake is.
Yeah.
So then, would you say king cake on Luke Brennan as the next homegrown?
Yes. Bam. So a king cake, you can Google this. It's a part of Mardi Gras, and there's different forms of Mardi Gras. You know, you can get there's the New Orleans style that is the world famous, with the cruise and the floats and the partying, and most of my dad's family's from down there, and I have many stories from them about many lost evenings in New Orleans.
Yeah.
But you also get like the Mobile version. It's a
Yeah.
little bit different. You also get Gasparilla down in Tampa, which is a whole different animal.
That is true.
But a king cake is a giant round cake. It's just this, it's this giant round, delicious, sweet cake. And you generally put a baby in the cake, like a little plastic baby, not a live human.
Not
child.
a live child.
Not
no.
a human child, no.
No.
But you would put a plastic baby in the cake.
Yes,
Never not fun.
And it's like you've won the prize basically.
Yes.
And,
So a king cakes are delicious. I don't know that you would be able to find one in Australia. That's okay.
yes,
We're here to help.
And so
I would send you one, but I cannot think of anything that would possibly travel worse across the continental United States and the Pacific Ocean than a king cake.
Yes. For Bam's assistance, I have linked to an article from NewOrleans.com.
Where's the fun if it's not a live child?
Yeah, I mean, well, and Bam, the thing is though, is that
it's late for Bam too. It's getting dark for Bam, and we're late in the evening. There's a lot happening right now.
Yeah. So, and I mean, but Bam, if it was a live child, you would have to think about the effort it would take for the bakery to actually create the cake, because the cake in and of itself is probably.
I mean, have you never read A Modest Proposal? It's not that hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's the king cake is traditionally what, about 12 by 18, Jarrett?
Yeah, it's pretty good size.
Okay, 12 by 18 by 3. And you would have to probably widen the cake a little bit. Of course, we're talking about the age of the child, too.
I remember when I could be awake till 1:30 in the morning. Now when I do it, I just stare into the darkness. Like, oh, God, I've made a terrible mistake.
Yes.
My child's going to be awake soon.
Yep. So depending on the age of the live child, Bam, you might have to lengthen the cake. You would probably have to widen the cake if you're talking about wingspan. And you definitely would have to take the depth of the cake, probably make that from 3 to 12. So from 3 inches to 12 inches, and I can't convert inches to centimeters quickly enough this morning, but you would have to probably
do not do math.
No, you'd probably have to widen the cake by a third, or lengthen the cake by a third, widen the cake by a third, and then increase the height of the cake by about 3 times. So from like 4 inches, 3 inches to about a foot. If you
Jason's begging you to stop because we're not going to cook a child a cake.
No. I'm just doing it for just to understand that if this was something that a baker wanted to undertake, it would take a long time to basically triple the size of your standard king cake if you wanted to do something like that.
King cake tastes delicious, though. If you get a good one. Man, see, I've already had the idea of, like, what if we opened a really good, like, authentic Mexican restaurant in England, like in London. I've already had those internal discussions. Now I'm having the discussions of opening a Cajun restaurant in Australia. So we're going to start this one up. Let's just go for it.
Absolutely fantastic. No, I think that's good. Let's see. And a lot of you guys are comments on the Twitch pitch about everything from the game to kits and what you guys are thinking about that to
the Randazzo's ones are the ones I've always been told were.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember when we would have king cakes where we got them from, but it might be Randazzo's. But yeah, for Mardi Gras king cakes are a staple of the celebration. And now that we have given the public service about that, you look at the other. I'm trying to think of the other younger players, because there were, as Gonzalo Pineda told me going out to the second half. I mean, in that second 11, there were 5
completely off the rails. I'm sorry, I completely forgot we were talking about a damn soccer game at this point.
Well, but I mean, that's what this show does sometimes. Like I said,
I know, but because you're trying to cook children.
No, I was doing a proportionality exam. I was not doing anything about encouraging cooking a live child. I was just talking about what it would take the baker to have a cake to encase said child.
It's like Witch Hazel from the old Bugs Bunny cartoons.
No, it's like you're not baking the child to make the cake. The child is outside, and then you place the child inside.
Anyway, speaking of children,
yes.
A bunch of teenagers played last night. They were really good.
Yes,
Johnny Fortune's really good at what he does.
Yes.
Alan Carlton is about that. Is about that life.
Alan Carlton does not care of your birth certificate, sir.
Despite the fact that he weighs like 78 pounds soaking wet.
$20, yeah.
On Jupiter, where the gravity is more intense. Alan Carlton is not a large human being.
No.
Well, he's actually taller than, I think he might be taller than Andrew is. But
last year, and I think he has
had that kid a jar of peanut butter.
I think he has had I think he has had a growth spurt, because he was 5'7", 120 at the end of last year.
Yeah.
Maybe 130. But I think he is taller than 5'7" this year, because the players have the procession where they walk past you as they're heading to the bench if you're not starting, and Allen looked like he was taller. So I mean, that's
17. I mean, 17 or 18. It makes sense. Who would you cook? Who from last night's loss would you bake into a cake? Jesus. I don't know.
It's preseason, Bam. Come on.
I mean, but if I got to cook somebody in a king cake, you're gonna make me cook one of my players. I don't know which one I'm cooking.
Yeah, I mean, if you had an immediate answer, Jared, I would be concerned.
Yeah. Again, this is some Witch Hazel stuff.
Uh-huh.
Getting kind of grim.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, no, and KFC admits that he was ready for David Mejia to win it last night. No dice, but it was great for Luke and AJ, though. And
yeah,
because we've seen David Mejia come
Peruvian Messi.
Yeah, Peruvian Messi come in late and just hit an absolute banger from, say, 20 or 22 without any kind of fear whatsoever. But remember that second half, Toluca had not started a lot of their first teamers. And so they bring in Camilo Sanvezzo, and, it's like, he's won a Golden Boot in 3 separate leagues, including Major League Soccer from his time with the Vancouver Whitecaps.
Yeah.
And,
fun player.
No doubt. When you sit there and you're like, yeah, I'm going to go to the bench. When Nacho Ambriz goes to the bench and he brings out Camilo Sanvezzo for the stretch run. But I look at that starting. I look at the 11 that came on in the second 45, and that was there for the second 45, and it's something that we've seen a lot of. They do not back down from anything. They do not back down from anyone. Alan Carlton. Let's see. So KFC says MLS lists Alan Carlton at 5'8", 119. 5'8", 119.
Yeah, and Byrne makes a really good point, and I agree with him. Alan, I think, is more athletic than Andrew.
Yeah.
Even Andrew now. Like, Andrew Carlton he just signed with Vegas.
Yes.
Andrew Carlton's still an incredibly good technical player, but he's never been overly athletic. Kind of had to protect him in that midfield because he was that dude. You wanted him on the ball because he's going to make some stuff happen.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to make magic.
But yeah.
He's not overly athletic, and if you're asking him to cover tons of ground, you're going to have to give him some sort of cover. Like, you're going to have 2 guys playing behind him kind of thing.
Yes.
It's tough, and it's a tough way for it to be. But I think Allen is more athletic. He certainly has the chip on his shoulder.
I was going to say, Allen's got some sandpaper in him.
Allen has some sandpapering for sure. Now, how does it hold up long term? I don't know. Let's see.
I mean,
yeah,
but that second 45. I mean, there's a lot to look at from the club in that second 45 with the younger players too. All right, so since it's 9:36, I'm just going to go ahead and close opening kickoff, but continue talking about it.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, well, a lot of comments about the game and what we saw in both 45s. That's your opening kickoff that went 30 minutes. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's your QR code for those of you watching on Twitch. And once again, use the code Soccer Down Here 15. You get 15% off your purchase. And they, in turn, take 10% reinvested into the youth game. Our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com, Kickoff Coffee CO, Instagram, and Twitter, and Facebook, according to the big banner that I have here off to my right here in Office HD.
That's the thing as well is like, and I have to make these comments all the time of like, yeah, these guys are kids.
Yeah, they are.
Like a lot of those that you saw in the second half, they're kids. Some of them more kid than others. Like for instance, a Johnny Fortune, not as much of a kid anymore. Like
no,
getting older. And performances like he had last night. Look, because I know it's if I got to do a 3 up, 3 down, part of that 3 down is Mercedes Benz. He's too loose with the ball in the midfield for me. And it's not an indictment on him as like a player to say he can't be better.
Right.
Sure, he can be. I think he can be better, but last night was not the showing I wanted to see from him.
Yeah, and because you did not have Santi Sosa, it meant that Ibarra was more of the defensive element there.
Yeah,
and
he's more of a ball winner, but I mean, it just
the point.
Go ahead.
The point made by Jason on the broadcast is that with Hosechu and Ibarra, it's like, all right, so if one of them goes forward, the other one has to remember to stay back in those kinds of situations. And so, Alex was in this morning. He says, rarely critical, but Hosechu and Ibarra's midfield's too scary for my taste. Center backs looked bad, but it was the mistakes in front of them that created the chaos. And but once again, if you look at the center backs in the first 45, it's Purata and Cobb. And the amount of game state, I mean, yes, practice is one thing, but game state is entirely different for me when it comes to, okay, you're in a game and something is on the table here. How is my partner going to react? And I don't think that Noah Cobb and Juanjo Purata have had that kind of a test, for lack of a better word. So, it's preseason and they're being paired together because you don't have, it's a load management on Miles. So this happens,
As far as the midfield goes, like if, and to Emilio's question, like, I mean, for Ibarra, that ball winning is like, it would be him getting into the midfield and like those 50-50 balls, loose balls, him winning the tackle and winning possession of the ball, or at the very least, taking a chunk out of somebody so that they can't win it and go the other way. Right. Which there's a couple of moments in that game where I thought he struggled with that, where he should have done better, and he didn't. That's something he's got to work on. But the overarching point to this being, from what we saw from the kids, is that if the kid's going to play like that, and if you don't get the performances you want out of guys like Hosechu, I don't think Gonzalez is going to be shy about giving, maybe not starts, but minutes to his kids, to a guy like a Johnny Fortune.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean,
if you're not getting the job done, and there's a kid who'll get the job done, step on up.
Zero fear about doing something like that. If you see someone's getting the job done, and what that should do is for the individual who is the traditional starter, and you see something like that happen, it should challenge you to want to improve in those aspects that that your head coach and the coaching staff are looking at. So you are constantly being tested with the depth that is available with Atlanta United, but that depth is also kids, and there's a lot of promise that's attached to that because of what we saw in the second 45, and it's going to be challenging on a weekly basis at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground because of all of this youth that wants to challenge and go for roster spots and contracts and things like that. There's motivation there from that group that we saw in the second 45 to challenge who we saw in the first 45.
Yeah, and it's different motivation. So for like some of these guys, it's I want to get a home run deal. For maybe someone like a Johnny Fortune, it's I already got my homegrown deal. I want minutes with the first team. Mm-hmm. Like, it's great that I might get to go play with the second team this year and get some time and this, that, and the other. But I want minutes with the first team. And to that point, if you're not getting the performances you need out of some of these first team guys, if, let's say it's Huzetu and Sosa, which I think is it's fine as a pairing.
Yeah.
But if you're not getting what you need, then play the kids. Mm-hmm. Because there's always going to be somebody who's going to want it as much as you do, if not more. And you got to go with that if that's what it comes down to. And the thing with Fortune has been, is he going to be able to put it together consistently? I think he can. Yeah. It's easy to sit here and say that I think he can.
Yeah.
But I hope he can. But it's going to come down to, our guys taking advantage of their opportunities, not just the kids, but the grown players as well. And if they're not, we're not in the business of feelings. We're in the business of winning. So,
do what you can. It's a results-based business. Michael Head on Machop Chol. Chol looked good. Not sure he has enough mass, in quotation marks, to compete in the full MLS season.
Chol's way strong. Mm-hmm. It's weird, man. So, to your point, he's not very, Chol's not very muscular looking. He's pretty strong, dude.
Yeah.
And it's just because that mass is so damn spread out across his huge, spider frame.
Yeah.
He's strong. He's got to get stronger. Same with Brennan. Same with Carlton. The guy I'm least worried about there is Daniel Sabatu, who you'll probably see with the twos this year.
Who's already turning into a defensive tackle or a middle linebacker.
Yeah, I mean, he's already got the size. He's got to show that he can do the other parts of the game. He still has it's prove it mode for a lot of guys, but
yes.
His is a different kind of prove it. So is what it is.
Grant, sorry to see Chol apparently get hurt last night. He asks, does anyone know if he was injury prone in college? Also, I think I remember him being hurt a lot with the twos. Grant, he was hurt last year in training camp in Mexico.
Yeah, it's. I mean, this is a prove it year for him. It's a prove it year for a lot of guys. I think it's a prove it year for Mateusz Setu. He's got to show that if this is the last year, he's got to show that he deserves that opportunity.
Yeah.
Can he? I don't know, honestly. We'll see.
Yeah.
But it's also a prove it year for the likes of Machop Chol, and Machop Chol's not. You're not penciling him as a starter.
No,
don't get it twisted.
It's a prove it for Chol, and it's a prove it for Conway at the backup striker position.
Can these guys be starters in this, or not even starters, but can they be bench guys in this league long term?
Yeah,
I don't know. Mm-hmm. We'll have to see. But can they do enough to earn that next contract?
Yeah,
that right there is where my question lies with it. Can they do enough? I don't know. They're gonna have to show you that they can.
Yes,
that's why you call it a prove it year.
Yes,
you're trying to show us. You're trying to show me something.
Yes, it's Missouri. Ricky Ricardo with the public service. Machop did not really get hurt at Wake Forest. But, yeah, I know that a lot of folks remember last year when he was hurt in Mexico in training camp, and it's always difficult to recover if it's a muscle injury. And that was, once again, that was the point that Jason made, is Machop was being subbed off last night. It's always difficult to recover muscle injuries, because you have to make sure that muscle's at 100%, and you can't push yourself and press yourself for a regression. So yeah, it's a delicate dance when we're talking about muscle injuries.
And to Amelia's point, like, if Sosa's able to stay healthy this year, I as well, I'm pretty excited about the prospect of, like, Sosa healthy for a whole season.
Yes.
But he has to do it, because what he showed you in 21 and at the end of 22 was that he can be an outstanding midfielder in that. And if he's that guy, then yeah, I'm feeling good about everything. Especially if you get some of these kids pushing for more minutes. Definitely good with it then. We'll see.
Sean's happy with what he saw yesterday. Sam with a question, wanted to know what my immediate impression of Yorgos Giacomakis was now that I've interviewed him. Seems very sure of himself. I don't know if that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing when things don't go his way.
I mean,
you want that kind of confidence in a striker, because, and
I want like the insane confidence, which he has.
Yes, and I mean, think about it like, Sam, in basketball, where you have your shooting guard, and the last thing you want from your shooting guard is to stop pulling up and taking threes if he's been missing. You want the shooter to continue to shoot to get back into rhythm, and I think that's what you're looking for at the 9 with anybody. But when you have a stretch, say, where things aren't going well for you and the ball's not going in the back of the net, I don't want somebody who's going to sit there and defer and go, okay, no, you go ahead and take it. No, you go ahead and take it. I want that confidence to remain there and the faith in yourself to sit there.
J.R. Smith method. Yes.
Yeah.
J.R. Smith method.
You just keep shooting the threes, brother.
J.R. Smith, who is living his best life as a college golfer now.
Yes. Good for him, because I think he was named Scholar Athlete last year.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, he was.
Johnson C. Smith, does that sound right? North Carolina A&T, Johnson C. Smith, something like that.
I think so.
But yeah, I still want that confidence there the entire time. That's what I want, and I think that Giacomakis has that over and over and over again. You saw in the press conference how confident he is as an individual, and it was fun to catch up with him underneath one of the speakers last night at Mercedes Benz Stadium
during a light show.
It was a dance party, so I mean, it was great to catch up with him. And I think
John at a rave is just didn't know I needed that. But
you got it with you got a laser show and a rave and me and Emily Gagnon and Mike and Jason. But no, they did great last night upstairs.
And to Matrix's point, like. So the idea of like the prove it year, yeah. If your philosophy on it is, I haven't seen enough from 2 years to give them more, I understand. The part of the prove it year is for them as well, though, because they, as professionals, have got to prove to everyone else who might be looking for players that they deserve that shot. So it's been, 1.5 down years, 2 down years, not able to stay healthy, that sort of thing. They're trying to prove something not only for, their time here, but for that next contract as well. They got to prove that they deserve that.
Yeah. Sean mentioning the gentlemen who were wearing the yellow jerseys last night. Refereeing was god-awful and in very much preseason form. To that point, the goal that made it 3-2 for Toluca. The Atlanta United bench was irate because the ball had not stopped moving.
The 3-3 goal?
The 3, yeah.
Oh, it was the long ball. I was irate because Atlanta all night long kept letting Toluca take quick free kicks.
Yeah.
I was irate. Like, no, when you foul them, stand over them. Be the villain. Don't be this good. You know what? The nice guy's going to finish last.
Yeah.
Don't be the nice guy here. You fouled him. They're taking quick free kicks to try and catch you flat-footed.
Yeah.
Stand over the ball.
Yeah, Jackson Conway did that in the second half. I noticed that at one moment. But, yeah, sorry, the 3-3 goal from Araujo in the 63rd. The bench was absolutely irate because the ball was moving. And I didn't see it, so I'm going to have to go back and watch and see if it got picked up on the broadcast. But the bench, and I mean all of the coaches, jumped up out of their seats and were going after the officiating crew when the goal was scored by Araujo. I mean, you had so many assistant coaches going, the ball was moving, and I talked to Coach Pineda really quickly. I said, so you guys were saying the ball was moving? I said, yes, the ball was moving. So that whole play, that whole action had Atlanta United absolutely irate. And then later on in the match, when Atlanta United, I think this was probably like 3 or 4 minutes to go, the center ref saw the ball moving as Atlanta United tried to work quickly from right to left, and they called it. And so, yeah, there were some reminders from the bench about that, going back to the 3-3 goal in the 63rd. But yeah, the United bench was screaming that the ball was moving when Araujo scored the goal that made it 3-3. So, yes, there was a lot to be discussed, Sean, with the gentlemen who were wearing the yellow jerseys last night.
Yeah, it's preseason.
Yeah, it's preseason. I know, and a lot of
I would invite you to go watch a USL game.
Yes. Coco, the kids have been the biggest hope bringer from the preseason. And Nix and Michael Head and Jason Nix are wondering about Jackson Conway, and we've talked about it. This is a prove-it year for Chol. This is a prove-it year for Jackson Conway. Because, once again, that backup striker position is there to be had. Unless at some point you feel like you need to bring in a veteran. That is Machop Chol, Jackson Conway territory. And we've seen Machop play left wing in Chattanooga, and we've seen him play in the middle. And so, with Machop and Jackson, it's two different approaches to do something. So it is now the door, if this is another injury for Machop, this opens the door for Jackson Conway to walk through it.
Well, I still think Jackson's that guy. As it stands, I think he is the starter. If you got to have somebody, in a pinch, I think it's Jackson starting because of what he already gives you. He had, I think, Luis almost scored right at the end of the first half.
Yes.
The flick from Jackson to free him up was absolutely insane. It's you got to have more of that, basically.
Yes.
So we'll see. I think he is. If I got to take one of them, I think he is that guy to be starting. If it's not going to be Yakimakis, Yakimakis, excuse me.
But no, it was fun to catch up with Yakimakis last night, and I will say this. We talk about confidence from players. He had that aura about him. It was that the aura of confidence. I mean, literally, he comes walking up, and you could tell he is
shy.
He's that cat, man. I mean, he is that cat. And it was, like I said, it was fun to catch up with him and kind of pick his brain for a couple of minutes just to kind of see what his experiences have been like so far, and if his key card works and things like that. But no, it was fun to catch up with Yakimakis and Garth Lagerway last night. And but no, it was a fun broadcast. I know we still got a lot to talk about. We've got to talk about jerseys. We got to talk about other things. And Jarrett turns into a pumpkin, right?
Yep, I do.
All right, so we'll still be talking probably by the time your meeting's over.
Probably.
All right, so we'll see you in a bit. Jarrett Smith, everybody, there for hour number 1, and hopefully he'll be returning for hour number 2, depending on meetings, depending on the real world, all that kind of stuff. Airborne DJ, belated happy birthday, by the way, Tom. Going to take time to get the final 11 all in on the same page, but when they do, yep. I mean, like I said, Derek Etienne, you're looking at the left-hand side with Etienne and hoping that he can give you some minutes in St. Louis against St. Louis City SC on the weekend, and then hope that he can give you some more minutes as well in the match against San Jose and have him get up to full song. And you're also, you're not going to have the services of Santi Sosa because of suspension. You're not going to have him for the San Jose match or the Toronto match. And that was another reason last night that you had in the first 45, you had that midfield pairing of Hosechu and Ibarra. And so Hosechu and Ibarra with Almada. So it'll be, and that was the other thing. It's like that. And I know that you guys have mentioned it in the Twitch pitch about, making sure that you got to protect the World Cup champ. He was getting hacked. They had him in the John Nelson spot shadow without any question whatsoever. And they finally got around to blowing the whistle and making some foul calls. Sam, to your point, yes, need to get Luke on a homegrown deal ASAP. Michael wants to know if the starting center backs for Toluca were wearing triple numbers. They were, but once again, remember that they are in midseason form, regardless of what the number is. They've played an Apertura. They are in the Clausura, so they also know what Nacho Ambriz wants from them. So it's like you've got a team that is in midseason form, regardless of what the number is on the back, going up against guys who are still in preseason. And as I talked to Gonzalo Pineda before the match, it was, it's a delicate dance you've got. You've got a cup at stake. You're still trying to figure out certain things. And then you're also, it's like you're going to play two separate 11s. You're going to have young guys coming in the second 45. And I will continue to give that second group a boatload of credit. But, yeah, you had a team in Toluca who's sixth in Liga MX. And they were saving some of their other players. They were saving a lot of their first teamers, like Sanvezzo, for the second 45. But they did start a lot of first teamers and more than Jason had anticipated as he was going over the starting 11. But Bofo Salcedo, and him from his time out west, fantastic goal for Toluca last night. So it was good to see. Like I said, it was good to see everybody who showed up last night for AmFam Cup 2 Electric Boogaloo. And, so it was, like I said, we got plenty to talk about. And thanks to everybody who's here in the Twitch pitch this morning. Will not high on the midfield. A lot of comments about Hosechu and Ibarra. Alex, Tyler was still Tyler was with the U20s. And now it's just a matter of him getting integrated and, getting to full song from an Atlanta United perspective. So we'll keep an eye on Tyler Wolf. Tyler Wolf might be a part of the discussion when it comes to the midfield and what you're looking for. Michael, obviously, midfield's your biggest concern. We had lasers and smoke and fire, absolutely. And yes, Will, with the public service announcement today. For those who are in our footprint here in the Southeast, just be safe today because it's going to be a bad weather day. And just make sure that all of you are safe and looking an eye on each other. Don't think Eric Lopez is back, Sam. I don't think he's back. I haven't heard anything about Eric Lopez being back. Will, wanting to know how long the visa process will take for Giacomakis and Luis Abram. No idea. It is up to the mercy of the United States government. What you are hoping is that things are more expedient now, since you are not in a COVID dictated environment, and you're hoping that you can have them available for San Jose. But the bottom line is none of us know. The only ones who know are the guys and girls that put the work visas together and get that paperwork appropriately stamped and sent to the Atlanta United offices. So no idea is the short answer, Will. In a perfect world, yes, you have them available for San Jose. And your striker in that match, the guy in the middle, is going to be Giacomakis, and you will see how Luis Abram integrates and how long it would take for him to be a part of the process too at the back. So when it comes to visas, no idea. That is a government question. So if you would, please wave a flag or send a nice correspondence. Be nice, perhaps asking, something like that. But yeah, visa process is up to the government. That is not Atlanta United and their wizards of paperwork can file all the paperwork they want, and they can do it as quickly and as expediently as possible. But it's the U.S. government that is the group that's going to sit there and sit there and go, okay, stamp, you're good to go. Let's see. Getting the king cake education in at the bottom of the hour. So that was fun. So Michael Head, I did not know this, that Mobile has the oldest Mardi Gras in the United States. I did not know that. Of course, there are a lot of things about partying that I really don't know. I'm not much of a partier. Burned, public service announcement. Something like a king cake is eaten in Spain and Latin America for January 6th, Dia de los Reyes, and also has a baby in the cake. Now we know the rub. Bam has Fridays off work, so he can stay up late. Now we know the rest of the story. And, now, like I said, now I'm catching up on comments. Yeah, Sam, it was not eating babies down here. And Bam, once again, remember it's a preseason game, nothing that important. And Jared answered the question about who do you bake in the cake. Yes, Sam, excellent point. Redheads do really good for Atlanta United in the midfield. Absolutely true. And yes, Kefsey, I was also ready for David Mejia to hit an absolute banger from, say, 22 or do something off a set piece to win it last night. But yeah, great for Luke, great for Luke Brennan, and great for Johnny Fortune. And so that'd be good to see. 58119 for Carlton allegedly. Yeah, and Kepsey. They rotated opposite hours, but the last match for Cruz Azul score in late. And yes, Alex, that is absolutely correct that David Mejia does bear a passing resemblance to Jack White. Absolutely true. Nick's with the question. Who else going to the block party? What time are you getting there? So that's another public service this morning. Jason Nick's asking about the block party. So who's going? When you getting there? Michael remembers the conversation with Burned. Remember when Andrew was up and the rumor was that his younger brother was going to be better. Ricky Ricardo, a thumbs up for Luke Brennan as well. Burned, I think Allen could overcome his lack of athleticism with Sparks technique and a fully professional soccer education. Andrew couldn't. Too slow and a total lack of quickness and lacking the professionalism. Wiley. She had half the hope that so many people seemed to have sat in your seats last night and couldn't muster up any enthusiasm. Tired of what ifs and maybes and could have been. Maybe someday we'll be good again. Just Wiley, it's preseason. It's just preseason. So, and remember everything from last year. You're getting folks back. Brad coming back. Miles coming back. Ozzy coming back. You're adding Derek Etienne. So, I mean, in a perfect world, 100% healthy. If you go to 4-3-3, it's Brad, left to right, Andrew Gutman. Then you have Miles, Purata, Brooks Lennon. Midfield, when Santi Sosa comes back healthy, Sosa, Hosechu Oribara, Thiago Almada. Up top, Etienne, Giacomakis, Arujo. There you go. So that's when you're getting 100%. Everybody's getting to full song, but that's your starting 11 that you didn't have last year for a lot of different reasons, folks being at other places and folks being injured. So also on the board this morning, Will convinced Allen works harder than Andrew because he's seen what his brother did wrong and is like, nope. I think Andrew was more naturally gifted, but Allen hustles that much more. And that's the first thing that you look at is with Allen Carlton. Allen just literally, he'll comes storming in, and like I said, he's got some sandpaper in him. He's not going to take anything from anybody. And I can guarantee you, in game situations, folks look at somebody like Alan Carlton, and they go, "Oh, skinny kid, 5'7", 5'8", $120. Yeah, we got that." And then Alan, or whomever we're talking about in this situation, but specifically somebody like Alan Carlton, he's going to come after you, and you got to love that. You love that in a player where, some older player is probably underestimating the ever-loving daylights out of Alan Carlton, and Alan Carlton's like, yeah, okay, fine. I'll go through you. I'll stick in there. I'll stick into a tackle. I got the ball. I'll go through you. I'll, help work everything down into the attacking third. No, I mean, I love what I'm seeing with Alan Carlton. Also, I think Michael, talking about the gentleman in the yellow jerseys, I think they were collegiate officials. They were not. I don't think they were pro, because I didn't see the pro badges, but I think they were collegiate officials. So you've got that with the officials last night. Wiley, you start caring when they count for real, and that's San Jose on the 25th. Let's see, Coco. Now you've been saying it for a couple of years, but once again, just remember, we're in preseason. It's another year. Also, BAM, public service for Australia, Melbourne Derby this weekend. I've seen some new chants for the game. Do not know what Ozzy's timeline is, Burned. Do not know. But obviously, we'll keep an eye on Ozzy Alonso, and if we hear anything, obviously we'll let you know. Also, yes, Rich, you should. I didn't know that it was trending. I didn't know that hashtag Bring Back Tata was trending. I did not see that at all last night. Of course, my phone was charging most of the evening, and I was running around from sideline to studio space. But no, I did not see that trending at all. And I thought Tata was being considered for Leeds. That was the last thing that I saw with Tata Martino. How long do you think it would take to have Etienne play 75 to 90 consistently? It's a good question. I think a lot of it's going to start from what happens Monday through Friday. And then I think that if you extrapolate, and like I said, this is just thinking out loud, Emilio. If he comes in as a substitute for St. Louis, say, and he comes in and gives you some minutes against San Jose in the second half, maybe Toronto, I don't know. Like I said, it's something that's going to be dictated by what happens Monday through Friday. But that, like I said, that's just an extrapolation that had no basis in fact whatsoever. So Toronto, perhaps, don't know. Also on the board, let's see. Will calling a foul on everybody about the officials, calling a foul on everybody wearing a Miami Joseph kit in the Benz last night. Did not see that. Also on the board, let's see what we got to talk about. Okay, so reporting that somebody's back. Let me see what Doug had to say. A little after, so 8 minutes ago on the Twitters, Doug Robertson at the AJC, as things continue to load. Eric Lopez has rejoined Atlanta United. TBD if he'll be with the first team or the twos. Okay. Thank you for that. Good to know. And joining us for hour number 2, ladies and gentlemen, is Nick Alifi. Good morning.
Good morning.
So thoughts about last night, sir? You had the opportunity to, I guess, watch locally on the telly. So what'd you think?
Mm-hmm. One, it was delightful to be able to watch it locally on the telly.
Yes.
That is. Hi, Will. It was great to hear Mike and Jason on the television. I think that was wonderful.
Absolutely.
Just put it out there, Apple.
Yeah, really. No kidding. And this is the other thing quickly. I don't know. I've seen no indication.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if there are going to be any sideline reporters for Season Pass.
We need them.
I haven't seen any notification whatsoever about sideline reporters for season pass. I don't know if that means that head coaches or individuals who are going to be interviewed at the half are going to be wearing headsets and just talking to play-by-play in color that way or not. I don't know how they're going to handle the interviews and all the comments and all the stuff that you can glean from a third person in the booth. I haven't seen anything about it.
Yeah, I think we've sort of taken the sideline reporter for granted over the years, as we kind of get into, different ideas of what a sideline reporter should be. But I think time and time again we've seen where sideline reporters can really give you a heads up as to what's going on in a game, the game flow, sort of the mentality of the coach, the manager. I really hope they don't get rid of that. I just,
Well, and I think that, and speaking as someone with that kind of experience, as a sideline reporter,
indeed,
/ field anchor, if you integrate that individual as that third voice, and they're not there just as a sideline reporter, where it's just like you're there for interviewing coach, interviewing player post game, and you're done. If you integrate that individual as a third voice, where they are chasing after news, they're chasing after information, they're letting you know what's going on in discussions with coaches and players, those kinds of things, that can be beneficial. Because if you're just there to stick a mic in somebody's face, do 2 questions, and you're done, that's not doing it. That is doing the job a disservice. You can do a lot of work on the sidelines that it's outside of just sticking a mic in somebody's face. And I think that if you do not have that individual on the sidelines, you lose that informational capability. And I think that that's, and bam, right on. Sideline reporters sitting next to the benches hear things that other people don't.
Yes.
Like last night, and I was saying, in that goal that made it 3-3, the coaching staff for Atlanta United was elevated voices with the officials about the ball rolling to start the play. And that's a no-no.
Yeah.
The officials didn't catch it. The coaching staff was staring right at it. I got the confirmation on that on Gonzalo Pineda. That kind of information you don't get if you're just in the booth and don't have that individual downstairs.
Right.
So you miss out on a lot by not having somebody there. So we'll see.
But I think it also, and here we go derailing things.
What's wrong with that?
But it goes to a larger issue that I have with sports broadcasting, which is we've been dumbing it down so much as of late. Where and there are some people who you would think don't necessarily belong on a sideline. And I guarantee you they absolutely do. When I was at NCAA.com, Kaylee Hartung, who's now who works NFL with Amazon, she's obviously very pretty, but that's what surface level people look at. And they say, oh, it's another sideline Barbie. Let me tell you something. I don't think I have met I would say less than maybe 3 or 4 sideline reporters who were more prepared than Kaylee Hartung was. We covered lacrosse Division III through Division I, the championships up in New England, up in Foxborough, and she had details on all the Division III teams, all the way up to Division I, storylines, everything. What she brought to our programming was mission critical. I can't even begin to tell you what the questions that she was able to ask at half, the questions that she was able to ask in post game, by being there on the sidelines, getting the vibe, getting the energy, overhearing things, and with laser sharp focus on potential injuries, everything. It was invaluable. And that's why she's working NFL with Amazon today. Because, I mean, let me tell you, she was like a freelance reporter whenever she was working with us. And climbed the ladder exceptionally well, through skill and ingenuity. Okay. The dumbing down of sports that we see, and yes, Mr. Ransom, the dumbing down of soccer coverage. Yeah. There's this conundrum that producers keep running into, and it's high soups and executive producers, where they say, well, we have more casual fans coming into a sport, so we need to dumb down, we need to reduce the esoteric to keep these people in the loop. And I'm sorry, you don't. People are very smart. When I know people.
You take your audience for granted, I think.
Yeah.
By dumbing your coverage down.
You do. And you take out a lot of the things that make the sport interesting, that really, people say, oh, well, soccer is, it's a bunch of people running around chasing a ball, and it's just, flair and flopping. And no, it's not. Like, when you start talking about, especially on the defensive side, assignments, gap coverage, who's picking up which runner, who's picking up, who's watching this space, who's going to carry the overlap. There's so much to consider. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have someone who can articulate these things, then it does become just 22 dudes running around chasing a ball. We have to. That's one of the great things about what Madden brought to the booth. Was Madden would sit there and be like, oh yeah, so you got the gap assignment right here, and he's gonna shoot the 2 gap. This right here is a 2 gap. And boom, Brett Favre down the, taking money out of the welfare kids, and boom, down the field he goes. So you have to make sure that with new fans, you don't feel like you're gatekeeping them. I understand that. But at the same time, you must do the sport justice. Mm-hmm. And part of doing the sport justice is having not sideline Barbies, not sideline Ken, but having sideline reporters.
Yeah.
People who are versed in the art of reporting and sports coverage. People who are versed in the art of storytelling down there on the sideline. And John, it terrifies me the day you say that you're done doing it, because it does. And I'm not saying this just because we're on the same show.
Yeah.
I'm saying it because it's true. We are running out of people who understand the art of broadcast. And I promise you, it's an art. Our back channel, our production thread, we were talking about this during the Super Bowl, where at one point you could tell that they were running over on a segment, and they did the old 1980s zoom through the reporters in the booth down to midfield. And it was so simple and so brilliant, because it showcased knowledge of the past and how that could play into something current and new and still work beautifully. There's an art to this that I think gets taken for granted. And if you ever get a chance, for anybody out there listening, go to the College Football Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Which is magnificent. And if you're a veteran, you get in for free, which I think is just amazing. Thank you. But they have a booth there where you get to call. It's college football plays, and like they have Oklahoma, Boise State with the Statue of Liberty and or the hook and ladder. So Jack, my son, got in the booth and got a chance to call it, and it was like mind bending to him that you have to think of all this stuff to say and fire it out smoothly without stuttering, without stammering, and just to call it.
Yeah.
And I think the further we get from having educated, knowledgeable people on the sideline, and just intern here, hand the coach or the manager the headphones to put on, you're losing it, because there's that psychological buffer there when you have the reporter, which is, I'm not letting you leave until you answer this question. And if I need to run with you to the locker room to get it, I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
As to where the coach go, okay, I got to go. Headphones off and they're running. Mm-hmm. there's a bit of information that you may need to get there, even if it's out of Nick Saban, right? And I watched Kaylee Hartung go toe to toe with Nick Saban.
Yeah.
And I mean, she's like 4'11", brunette fury, had no problems taking on Nick Saban. And Nick Saban, I thought there was only going to be 3 questions. She went right at him, didn't care. And so we need people who are educated and knowledgeable in the art to be on the sideline. I hope to God they don't get away with this. I'm done with my rant.
No, that's what we're all about. Coco's been on a roll at the Athletic Soccer Show. Did an interview with Rebecca Lowe about this. Lowe says they make sure to toe the line between bringing along the new fans and still entertaining the more experienced viewers for their EPL coverage. She says, meaning Lowe, that the phrase, as you may know, is invaluable for this because it doesn't dumb down the history of the sport for people who do know it and helps fill in people who don't know the history of the sport. And that's part of it, too, is your phraseology and how you carry yourself. You cannot sit there and act as if I know the information, you should know the information, I'm not going to share it with you. That kind of a vibe and that kind of an aura and that kind of presentation is found out early, and it turns viewers off. And you cannot have that if, like we do here, and there are other shows that do the same thing, that want to bring in an audience, want to embrace the audience regardless of the level of knowledge they may have.
Right.
And bring everyone forward, because just because you may know more or less than someone, also you may not know the same pieces of information. The person who may know less about a topic may know more about something else than the individual who knows more about the sport going into a conversation. So you have to treat everyone equally here when you're discussing something, because some folks may know it, some folks may not, and the folks who know less may know more about a particular topic. Nix. That's why I hate some players seem to get a fast lane to broadcasting. Yes, being a player can add to the coverage, but broadcasting is so much more than knowing the game. Yes. At the same time, Jason, there is faith in that the individual will get it. You want to bring that individual in because of their knowledge base and let them get to TV. You look at a guy like Greg Olson. Olson would be my example here. Olson had no broadcast experience going into, and if he did, it was while he was injured and it was limited. But when he retired, he did not have the consistent broadcasting knowledge base. But you pair him with Kevin Burkhardt, and Burkhardt brings Olson along.
Yep.
Olson in the Super Bowl with Burkhardt was solid.
Yes.
He explained what was going on, especially on the play that was used on opposite sides of the field that drew the Eagles away for 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
Olson can explain something in a situation that, once again, brings folks along. He's got the football fan that knows, but the stuff that Olson knows, he knows because he was a player. It's the translation into a broadcast medium of explaining why he knows it and why this is important. That you hope you can bring along for someone who doesn't have a lot of experience. You pair him with Kevin Burkhardt, you see why.
I wish to God I could remember who the analyst was. It was when the Miami Dolphins had Ronnie Brown and they were running the Wildcat, right? And they were like, "Oh, here comes that what they're calling the Wildcat formation," and then the analyst says, well, actually, it's a variant of the old wing T offense, and if in the old wing T you would have this and this and this, and they're drawing this out, and the player would do X and Y, and the fact that they took just 10 or 15 seconds to explain wing T, the concept of it, and how the old becomes new again, was just illuminating.
I mean, when there was an instance, and we talked about it in the production chain, when you saw the T formation being brought out.
Yes.
And some of us knew it, and apparently not everyone on the broadcast did. Right. Because we're screaming at each other, and this, like I said, I'm breaking the fourth wall in our production chain. In our production chain, we saw the T formation, not wing T, the T formation. Quarterback, 3 running backs lined up. It was the Jags game. It was the Jags game with Etienne on the run that was on the fourth down that gave them the first down that solidified the win.
Mm-hmm.
It was in that game late when the Jags were in the T formation against the Chargers, and they ended up, getting the game-winning field goal. We saw the T formation. We knew it immediately. Disappointed that the broadcasters didn't pick it up or didn't explain it well enough for folks to sit there and go, that's a throwback. And they took a variant of the T formation, giving it to the X-back, Etienne, and having him go wide right. Those kinds of things, regardless of the sport you're talking about, can bring more folks into the tent.
Yes.
By explaining the past and bringing it forward. Nick's, we got Manning cast comments. Let's see.
Regarding the Manning cast.
Yeah.
Dr. Wifey, that's the only way she'll watch Monday Night Football.
I do
is the Manning cast.
Yeah.
Because there's enough hilarity between the brothers and whichever guest they bring in, and the ridiculous knowledge that those two have, and it just provides that enough of the nerd to be like, hey, no, let's explain what's happening here. This is why you need to have some, this concept works here because they're trying to exploit this particular gap in coverage, or they're trying to draw the safety down in order to get this matchup over here. And Dr. Wifey, who refers to sports ball, if it's not UGA playing, it's sports ball. It's there, and they don't hide the esoteric. They put it right in the front and say, yeah, we're all nerds here, right? We're just two brothers watching a game, picking on each other, and then picking on our guest. That to me is the perfect blend of having it accessible, yet it doesn't lose intelligence in the process.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. Boss and I watch Manningcast. We don't watch Joe Buck and Troy Aikman.
No,
we get it differently. Ricky, Olsen's going to be getting a pay cut when Brady comes. I would give Fox the finger. Allegedly, he's making 10 when Brady comes in, which I still don't think is going to happen. Olsen's going to go from 10 to 3, but that's still a lot of zeros to the right of that number. Airborne DJ to Nick's. A lot of folks think just because they watch a lot of sports or know a lot, they can do sports talk. The answer is LOL, nope. No,
it's not. You'll have guys who can understand, all the permutations behind a guard pull, right? Mm-hmm. They can explain how you pull the guard, the hand and arm technique, the footing necessary to execute it well, and be completely terrible in explaining it, because it's something that they've just done intrinsically for so long. And you can have somebody who's never done a guard pull in their damn life, but can explain it to the letter.
Yeah.
Because it's something they've studied and reviewed over and over and over again.
Yeah. Uncle, discussing our production thread. Watch some Ivy League if you want some strange football formations and plays.
I have weird, Uncle, I got a weird one for you. When we were covering, again at NCAA.com, we were up in New England, and we were covering squash.
Oh, boy.
Right? And so I want to say was it Providence? I'm trying to remember who it was that we were covering. And they were on like the longest win streak in college athletics, right? It was a squash team. And the guy, look, the coach for the team was very kind, very sweet guy. Had a complete racket going because he was also the U.S. men's national squash team coach. So he could coach.
Yale defeated Trinity in men's squash.
Trinity.
Longest win streak in college sports history at 252.
There you go. So we were covering Trinity. And the only way we could make the schedules line up was if we went to Brown to cover them. So we go to Brown's campus, which is just, good God, it's gorgeous.
Yep, been there.
And the chancellor was kind enough to allow us to use, he said, the Brown facilities are yours. Go wherever you need, shoot whatever you like. Just please be kind enough to mention that Brown was helpful in this endeavor. Great. We go into the office, and they have 2 glass cases in the reception area with footballs going all the way back to the beginning of the program.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they're giant, man. They're these giant, like old school leather, old school hand stitched footballs. And they had the dates written on them and the games. Oh my, if you are any sort of sports nerd, it was heaven. It was absolute heaven. And of course, the Brown people could not have been more friendly and kind to us in the process, especially as I sat there just nerding out in front of these glass cases. So yeah, it was Ivy League. The Ivy League gets a bad rap for some obvious reasons, but at the same time, yeah, it is a pocket of just weird absurdity if you can break the wall down.
I stiff-armed a Dartmouth running back on consecutive plays while I was shooting a game at Brown.
There you go.
When I was in Providence, Rhode Island. You can see, story time with John. Shooting, I had, and this is to tell you how long ago it was, I had a Super VHS camera shooting the game video, and it was in my right hand. And this was before the days where you had the long white stripe to where you could go right up to the sideline and shoot video. And so I'm right on the sideline, and it's probably like the 20-25 yard line of Brown as Dartmouth is driving. They pull student body left. They're coming right at me. And so I'm shooting the play, and kids coming right at me. You look in the video, and I wish I still had it. I probably still do on a tape someplace. But you see my left hand enter the frame and stiff arm the guy as he's coming out of bounds. His helmet hits my left hand. He dropped.
Wow.
And that was the first play. And so, and I'm like, oh, so literally I'm shooting it. You see my left hand kind of push into frame low left, and I stiff arm the Dartmouth running back, and he falls out of bounds. Second time, they called student body left again. He bounces. Same thing happens again. Same thing happened for the second play in a row. Shooting, hand comes into frame, stiff armed me, and I swear to God, after that second play, the kid looked up at me and was like, dude.
The coach is over there like, I need to know who that cameraman is. Please get him over here in a uniform immediately.
Exactly. And he did sound like Terrence and Phillip, by the way. So, and Coco about the Manning cast, the insane knowledge of those two, meaning Peyton and Eli, and now they've got a youngling they brought up in this. Art should be miles ahead in his analysis of the game. Maybe he will be. No clue yet. That'll be fun to find out. Mentioning sports talk. The real test is if you can do sports talk. Can you talk about it in a solo monologue for 45 minutes? If not, it may be for you. Coco heard that from the herd, for what it's worth. And I think a lot of that has to do with enjoying the sound of your own voice, but that's just Tom Russo. You'll never get 45. Can you get from commercial break to commercial break? Because that's the whole intent. Get people to stick around through the ads. Most of it, as Tom says, it's like 16 to 18 minutes. And can you go straight through with one coherent thought? It is harder than most people think, Coco says. Coco's got to write lectures for 65 or 75 minutes by comparison. So Coco can fill 4 segments with a lecture in sports talk radio.
Well, and the art of the tease, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you take it all the way up. You have to have your story get right to the right to the edge of the mountain peak, and then we got to go to commercial. We're gonna finish it when we get right back here in 2 minutes. I'm gonna finish the story. We'll see you right back at that, and you're out, right? Yep. And then you come right in. All right. So where were we?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I picked it right back up.
Yeah, we're gonna pick it right back up here. Okay, so I'm on the sideline, right, and the Dartmouth running back, and so and that. Again, the art to the story.
Yeah,
it's just unbelievable. I when I worked in radio, I would go in with the camera and I would post up, and there was this one DJ who I had she and I just butted heads. I think it was just personality wise.
Yeah,
and what what was the most challenging part of it was she had been a hero of mine. And this is one of those things where it's never meet your heroes.
Right.
You know? Because in person, it was like, yeah, I'm not going to remember your name for 6 months just because there's too many people to go in and out of here, which I thought was one of the most clownish things that I'd ever been told in my life. But she was a wizard when it came to the art of broadcasting. And she knew how to get a story and get right to the climax, right at the commercial break, to keep you right there hanging on, come right out of the commercial break. The payoff is there. And, I could find very few people who did it better than she did. And it is, if you can master the art of timing, if you can master the art of reaching back into the recesses of the mind and the memory and weaving that tapestry.
Yeah.
Baby, you can do it. You can do big things with that.
Yeah.
So it's a delight when you watch someone who knows what they're doing. And I'm not claiming I do, but I know it when I see it.
Yeah.
When you watch someone who is really good, and I think Conti is unbelievable. I mean, for his days from calling hockey, I think he's really good with it.
Oh yeah.
And Conti, I think is somebody who, if you watch him do it, it's like, good God, the mental clock that's running. And I've seen you do it too. The mental clock is just spectacular, and it's just something that happens over time and learning. And it's
and the thing that you learn is there are people smarter than you.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is to set that person up. And what I tell analysts who are with me for the first time, if I'm doing play-by-play, is I'm going to call the play. When the play's over, I'm going to shut up so you can talk. That's basically what I tell them. I said, just go. I'm going to shut up. You talk. I describe the play. Play is over. I may look at them or whatever, unless I have with that individual. Play's over. Talk. It's not about me. Not about me at all. So, you know more about this than I do. Run.
Well, that's why when I talk to people and they find out that you and I are friends and that we also do this kind of shenanigan stuff.
Yes.
From time to time, they're like, "Oh, you're working with Nelly, dude! Oh, what a legend! What a legend!" Yeah. So I'm telling you, it happens. But yeah, as far as what Jason's talking about here, Bally's missing the 104.
They skipped the payment and it's 140.
Yeah. So it's their parent company Sinclair that really made life extraordinarily difficult, playing hardball tactics from any sort of negotiation on any of the major streaming outlets, thinking they could do it all on their own. And then they completely misread the appetite for signing up for additional streaming services.
Well, when you charge $11 billion a month,
yes,
for the streaming service, you've misjudged your market value and misjudged what you thought you could extract from the marketplace.
Mm-hmm. And look, they had United, they had Hawks, they had Braves, and they're still going to miss
all the college stuff.
Yeah, all the college stuff, and that was just Atlanta, right? So I mean, spread that out nationwide, and they're still going under.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we see this not just in the broadcasting world. We see this as well in the sports world now as well, with these teams like Barcelona and a lot of these other organizations where it's like, well, how the hell are you in financial trouble? Like, how is this? Because as rich as you think someone is, as powerful as you think someone is, the levers of ruin are just a hair's breadth away. Mm-hmm. No matter what your economic status is, because it's either your business practices have made a lot of enemies, or you are not running as flush of an operation as you have projected yourself to be doing.
Yep.
Or you're just an all-star team of idiots. Sometimes it's a combination of all of the above.
Yeah.
And in this case, you have just terrible business practices that made a lot of enemies. You have organizations that have the ability to run their own broadcast and or finance their own. Like Major League Baseball can sit there and say, oh, yeah, well, we got MLB Network. We can just take our stuff over there if we have to and figure out distribution.
You're going to get Major League Baseball is probably going to pull the rights back from Diamond Sports Group and deal with it on their own. For those that don't know, here's the deal. From Bloomberg, Diamond is, and this is dated, but I'll update it for tense. Diamond skips an interest payment of $140 million due in February, which results in a 30-day grace period and could lead to restructuring and Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Sinclair is likely to skip. So a stark divide from Bloomberg is emerging between would-be winners and losers. Its $630 million first lien loan is trading at 92 cents on the dollar, while nearly $5 billion of lower-ranked bonds change hands for under 10 cents, signaling a near-total wipeout for subordinated creditors. The restructuring plan favored by many creditors and the company itself would see the largest lenders becoming owners, turning much of its debt into equity through a prearranged Chapter 11 process, and this is from Bloomberg, according to people with knowledge of the matter who declined to be identified, citing the private nature of the talks. As for rights fees from our friends at Awful Announcing, still uncertain whether or not they'll be withheld after the declaration of bankruptcy or if Diamond will end contracts signed with the team. In a bankruptcy, Diamond would have the option of ending contracts with teams, potential, and this is Bloomberg's wording, potentially cutting off crucial industry revenue while also allowing teams to reclaim their media rights. The company could also halt payments to the teams while keeping the contracts in place. If a deal isn't reached, both MLB and creditors are preparing for baseball teams not to be paid, according to two people. Another person familiar with the matter downplayed the prospect Diamond would discontinue rights payments in a bankruptcy, adding that the company is open to bringing in teams and leagues as equity partners in any restructured entity. Over the summer, a report about a potential Chapter 11 bankruptcy stated Diamond would likely not be required to make ongoing post-petition payments to counterparties under the rights contracts until either the assumption of a particular contract, at which time Diamond would be obligated to cure any past defaults, including non-payment, or confirmation of a plan, at which time the counterparty would be entitled to payment and full administrative expense claim for post-petition value provided by the debtors, meaning the company could continue airing games without paying teams. Might not be a huge deal if a bankruptcy is resolved by the summer, as Bloomberg report mentions, but would be a very big problem if it stretches out longer. So Sinclair, I think I'm trying to find the original number that Sinclair / Diamond paid, and it's an $8.6 billion debt restructuring. And if I'm not mistaken, they paid $10 billion, I think, for the RSNs, and they were underwater initially by about $7 billion. I mean, this was a mess, and it still is. So you're looking at just the reason that congratulations to Brandon Godin, by the way, who returns from his time at Georgia Tech to be the new voice for Braves baseball. But for Bally to continue to hire people, I know that was a question in the Twitch pitch. It's based on revenue, and it's a team hire. They're hired by the team, not by Diamond. So Brandon Godin becomes, I guess, a 1099 for the Braves, or salaried employee for the Braves if he does it full time, and they let him do other things, if he's working college football or basketball or anything like that. So he's a Braves employee, if I understand it correctly, in those situations. You work for the Braves. You don't work for Bally. You're just that you're Braves on Bally, and Brandon Godin is now the new voice of Braves baseball. So it is a mess and a half. And Coco says Chapter 11 is at least the less messy of the bankruptcy filings. Chapter 11 is restructuring, and Chapter 7 is death. Yeah, you don't want Chapter 7. So, and thank you, Ricky, that the Braves are letting Brandon do his other gigs. And so that's good. So Brandon Godin, multiple paychecks, and knew we get to add the Braves to that mix as well. So, but yeah, the purchase of the regional sports networks had Sinclair / Diamond underwater practically immediately, and they have yet to find a way to get out of it.
All right, Bam, take it easy, man.
Night, Bam. Bam is off tomorrow, which is like this afternoon. So that's why he could hang out with us for most of the show today. 2:45 in the morning. So enjoy your off day, and thanks for hanging out with us for the first hour and 45 minutes. Who okays Nick's with the banking question of the day. Who okays these loans and deals?
People who want money. People who are going to get assets in return.
Yeah.
If whoever is so inclined, and you have HBO Max, there's a movie called Too Big to Fail.
Yes.
Which showcases the 2008 economic meltdown, and it's an all-star cast of performers in that. It is legitimately one of the most terrifying and infuriating movies I've ever watched in my life. It is when the government's trying to work out, hey, look, how close are we to the edge? And they're like, this is going to make the Great Depression look like a Boy Scout convention, right? I mean, it's terrible. Okay, so what do we do? Do we do, we can't nationalize the banks. That's off the table. We can't just let them fail. And they say, okay, well, we have to do direct cash injection to inject liquidity into the market and release the levers to allow credit to flow. And so they do this, and they lay out the terms to the banks where they say, hey, look, all of you have to take the bailout, because in the minute we have one bank that says, no, we're good, we don't need it, it signals weakness across the system. And the CEOs start talking about, well, this doesn't address compensation packages. And they're like, well, the government's like, well, what do you mean? They're like, well, we have to be able to attract and retain talent. And if we don't do that, we're going to have a brain drain. And so in the middle, everything is teetering on the edge as the global economy is about to go into the toilet. You have people arguing over compensation packages.
Yeah.
So it's Too Big to Fail is the movie. It's absolutely exceptional. I mean, it is mind-bending how it played out, because it looks like, everything's going to be okay, and then whoop, it all falls apart. And then we have a potential investor for Bear Stearns, and then the CEO, Dick Fuld, completely screws it up. And even if you hate James Woods, in this movie, he puts his absolute genius villain face on, and he's perfect as Dick Fuld. So by all means, please check that out. Coco, I will consider such a thing. I will consider this.
Okay, so here's the background. Sinclair bought the regional sports networks, all 19 Valleys, for $10.6 billion from Fox in 2019. Obviously, they were rebranded when they got the naming deal from Bally for a couple of million, I think, per RSN in 2021. So Sinclair buys the regional sports networks for $10.6 billion in 2019. Since then, Sinclair has tried to distance themselves from Diamond as the broadcaster decoupled Diamond's earnings from financial results. So that was an interesting play. They curbed their losses, and completely just pulled Diamond to the side. And it's like, no, they're different now. They're separate from Sinclair. And so you have to think of this now instead of one entity, but two. Third quarter, Diamond Sports reported a net loss of $1.2 billion.
Billion.
Yes. So they've been underwater with this Sinclair has from the absolute beginning, and they decided to sit there and split Diamond off, knowing that they were hemorrhaging dollars, and treat it as a separate entity, where I'm fairly certain that either Diamond will completely write until they declare bankruptcy, they were going to write everything off. Everything was a negative. And so you declare bankruptcy. So Sinclair spins them off, and now they're declaring bankruptcy in Chapter 11. So that's what you're getting right now with the RSNs. Sinclair saw the writing on the wall. It was hemorrhaging money. They were underwater on it. So they decide to spin it off. And so Sinclair can sit there and say, yeah, we've got record political ad revenue from the second quarter. We're doing great. Sinclair's doing great. Don't look at Diamond. Don't look at Diamond, because Diamond is Diamond. Diamond's not Sinclair. Diamond is Diamond now. And so that's how they're treating this. And so Diamond is now being put up for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, since they're going to skip this $140 million payment for the loan.
I would like to know where the executives for Diamond end up.
Yes.
I would like to see how that plays out. Because I guarantee you there are either very, very beautiful golden diamond bridges right back over to Sinclair waiting on them, or these beautiful golden parachutes on standby. It's just mind-bending.
Yep.
It's mind-bending.
David, it's the risk-reward argument for investing, where the rich people who supposedly accepted risk don't have to pay for their risk or lose their investment. Right, Nick? It is infuriating.
Right. Yeah, it is. And that's one thing on Too Big to Fail that they talk about, is they're like, well, this is, this bank's going bankrupt, this bank's going bankrupt. Well, don't these guys have insurance for, the toxic assets? And they're like, well, yeah. Well, who's the insurer? AIG. Well, what's up with AIG? AIG is going to declare bankruptcy at 3 p.m. today. It's like, wait, what? And so, there was infinitely more money going out than in. AIG wasn't ready to handle that. And if we remember, around that time period, AIG was the kit sponsor for Manchester United. And so, you went from having AIG everywhere to all of a sudden, like, wait a minute, they may be going under as a result of all this. So look, the system that we are all involved with in the sports world, it's the canary in the coal mine. And for those who don't, who are below a certain age, don't understand that reference. In the old days, yes, Coco, yeah, those bonuses went right out on time and on schedule. Got to keep that brain drain from happening. In the old days, when humans were doing a vast majority of the mining, nowadays a lot of it's automated. You would be digging down in the ground, and there would occasionally be pockets of gas, right? The toxic gas, natural gas. You can't breathe it. You can't live with it, And by the time humans realized they were being affected, it was too late. So they would bring down a small animal in a cage that would be sort of their guide, as far as, if we look over and the canary is dead, it's time to get out of the mine. Or the canary or the mouse or the rat or the gerbil or whatever. But the canary was the key. That kind of gave you the indicator that something was very, very wrong. And sports, if we look at what's happening, you had economic downturn, you had COVID, and then you had everything else that could be a global conflict. And all of a sudden, you have all these teams that are magically on the verge of bankruptcy. Why? What was happening? Were they spending money with their eyes closed? Yes. Was there a lot of financial regulation? No. What was the oversight? We deregulated it. What about this? Whatever the reason, we discovered that these sports entities were running far thinner margins than we remotely thought they were running. We thought all these businesses were just cash flush, and it wasn't the case, because they all started running these things like corporate entities, right? And just like John talked about, where Diamond gets spun off and goes bankrupt, and the parent company stays just good and solid, and hey, record profits, baby. It all falls under this pyramid, you know? And so we may lose a block or two, but, you know, those blocks can be replaced. And yeah, Jason, you're right. It's all advertising, right? So advertising, media packages are fueled by advertising. Advertising is built upon consumer spending. So, you know, it's a shock to their system, not ours, because we on the ground floor are already aware of this. That, you know, the money tightens up for us, and then there's we have to increase advertising because we have to convince these people now to go and buy this. Oh man, you can't get blood from a turnip, man.
Yeah.
You know, and so with that then the ad revenue starts slimming down, and then the TV revenue packages start slimming down, and then the consumers draw a hard line. I'm not getting another damn streaming service. Well, okay, now we have to, all these downfield adjustments have to be done. It's crazy now. You know what we're seeing, where giants like AC Milan, that used to be at the tippy top of the world, now they're being run like the athletics. You know, it's all Moneyball.
Yeah.
You know, Inter, right? Now that they're largely cut off from major Chinese financing, there's always talk of Inter being sold. You had Juve having to do contracts under the table because otherwise they're the money wouldn't look remotely right. You have Fulham now. I saw somebody saying this earlier, that Fulham and Forest are spending more than like most La Liga and Serie A clubs. I mean, it's the money. The money is changing in this world, in the sports world especially, and it's the canary in the coal mine, and especially because a lot of the people who are now running these are the presidents of companies like, you know, Fulham Sports Group, right, or Elliott or whoever, and so yeah, I think, you know, David has it right here. Sports is like real estate. Everyone keeps saying values will always grow and grow. At some point, interests shift. Media companies pay huge money for rights. At some point, tickets streaming will price folks out. Then the process system starts to collapse and reset itself. Yes. We are never going to be without professional sports.
Yep.
Because what happens is the sport goes away, the sport dies. A group of people get together in a playground and start building and you know, playing and getting really good, and then some kids from another neighborhood come over, and then some wise guy puts up a fence and says, okay, I'm going to charge you guys a nickel to get in, and the price is just, the system starts over again. No, Wildchar, I'm not ignoring when all the money was in Italy and in Spain, not at all. If you've listened to the show over time, and what I actually just said was there was a time when AC Milan was at the tippy top. It was my exact words. The tippy top. They were the top. Why? Because Berlusconi had the Scrooge McDuck money bin pouring into the team. Did the revenues from gate sales and television remotely match that spend? No, it did not. Not at all. Moratti for Inter, when he owned the team, dumping money into the team. Did the revenues remotely make up for it? No, it did not. So Juve, Agnelli, dumping cash. Again, the money didn't match. Okay. So when financial fair play came in and said, hey, these books have to balance, Serie A and La Liga were like, done. They knew it. Mm-hmm. They knew it. They knew that they were dead in the water. So no, Wildchar, I'm afraid I must push back and say ignoring when all the money was in Italy and Spain. I am absolutely not. If you had heard what I was saying, you would hear that I had said Milan was at the tippy top. Now they are not, and now I have clearly explained why that is. So if you want to go to sleep, go to sleep. But Chara, I love you. I hope you're doing well. I really do.
All right. Before we go, gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and matches to watch today. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, things left unsaid. Hey, I ask, and I'll see if this surprises you. From Le Parisien. Chelsea owner Todd Bowley's met with PSG president Nasser Al-Khelaifi in Paris to discuss a possible summer transfer move for Neymar.
Oh.
Why the hell not? You want to talk about somebody who's spending money like it's out of style? You want Scrooge McDuck money, Ben? Right now it's Bowley Clear Lake.
Yeah. I think Neymar, I think this would be good for Neymar. You're not getting tested at PSG outside of Champions League. That's their focus. That's what they're all in on. Trying to do anything they can to get into the semifinals and or the finals. They've been able to assemble super team after super team, and it hasn't worked. Neymar, the window, it sounds so stupid to say, but the window is closing for Neymar. His physical health has not always been the best, even if we take out the mandatory vacation time that seems to happen, around this time of year.
Ow, my arm. Ow.
Yeah.
Ankle.
Oh, gosh. Wow. Yeah, my spleen. So I think that going to, if he goes to Chelsea, which, okay, I guess, the level, like the amount of competition, not the level of competition, but the amount of competition. Like, no, Neymar, you can't go to Brazil for a month because, we have FA Cup, we have Gummy Bear Cup, we have Champions League, we have, we're in the middle of a title race. There's I just think he needs to be pushed and challenged in a new way. I think it would be good for him. Again, just make Super League and get it over with. Just make Super League, get these crazy rich teams, the absurd level billionaires. If Berlusconi wants to go and dump stupid amounts of cash into a team again, let him go. Let him do it. If somebody wants to buy, if Renault wants to buy Milan and dump stupid money and go and compete in Super League, go for it. Have fun. And then whatever's left over, let us coalesce around that and see what comes of it.
I know that this will come as a surprise from our friends at the Keep. Argentina forward Lionel Messi, whose deal with PSG runs out in the summer, is unsure about signing a contract extension with the French champs, which could open the door to moving to Inter Miami. I know that's a shocker. Arsenal monitoring the situation of Marcus Rashford over the uncertainty of his contract at Old Trafford. Mikel Arteta has asked the club to sign Martin Zubamendi from Real Sociedad. Arsenal and Manchester United are interested in Denzel Dumfries, who Inter Milan may be prepared to sell in the summer, courtesy of our friends at Fichajes, Nick.
Inter is kind of being a little funny right now. Selling players, and then not just that, but apparently they're issuing guidelines to Inzaghi, somebody who's made them unbelievably competitive. I don't know what to make heads or tails of what Inter's doing. There's been rumors for a long time that they're in financial trouble. Okay. They seem to have stabilized. They made some poor transfer decisions, inbound and outbound. So I don't know how you're putting any of this on Inzaghi. If you're trying to, I don't know. Inter makes no sense to me at all right now. So good luck to him, I guess. Serie A is going to be a very odd landscape coming up because now that Juve has been hammered, you're going to have retribution's not the right word, but you're going to have people who are going to essentially try to make good by saying, hey, look, we did not just single out Juve. We are still going after Milan and Inter as well. So financially, a lot of dumb moves are going to happen.
No doubt. Xavi says Frankie de Jong did not want to join Manchester United last summer. That's from the three-letter paper, so take that story for at your own peril. Bayern Munich have carried out internal analyses that has identified Harry Kane, whose contract at Spurs runs out in the summer of 24, is the ideal striker for the German club to sign, according to our friends at Bild. Speaking of Spurs, they're interested in Bayer Leverkusen's defender Piero Hincapié. Aston Villa could listen to offers for Emi Martinez to build up the club's summer rebuild. That's from the four-letter paper, so take that information at your own peril. Portugal defender João Cancelo says rumors of a falling out with Manchester City's Pep Guardiola before his loan move are a complete lie. And discussing a couple of other things, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Premier League clubs have all made contact with Independiente del Valle over 15-year-old midfielder Kendry Páez. And according to our friends at Talk Sport, Mauricio Pochettino could return as Spurs manager and replace, under pressure, Antonio Conte. And Conte went home, so he's going to recover from gallbladder surgery at home. Nick, I think he's done after this year. I know I keep saying it, but the more I keep seeing what's going on, the more I think that Conte is not going to want to renew his contract, and I think he's done.
I think he's done. Yeah, he's someone who has always gone sort of ridiculously hard as a manager. He's tough to play for. He demands a lot out of his players. His training sessions are notoriously difficult, and that takes a toll. You can only do that for so long. I want to know what's next for him.
Yeah.
If maybe.
I think it's recovery. I mean, the more that I think about it, with everything that is going on with him, he's had gallbladder surgery this year. He's lost 3 very close friends.
Yep.
And it has weighed on him. He has said as much in press conferences where losing these friends have weighed on him.
Yep.
So I think he's just going to go home, and I think he's going to chill for a while until somebody calls him up that's desperate for either being a grande that wants to save their spot in European competition or something like that. I think he's going home, and I think he's going to spend some time with family.
Yeah. There's nowhere else in Italy for him to go at the moment. Even if Juve reopens, like if they fire Count Dracula and get if they fire Nosferatu and bring try to bring him in, he needs to stay out for a little while. He needs to try getting just some rest and recovery, and go back to Lecce, hang out for a bit, get some sun, chill. And when Mancini decides he's done with the national team, then take it over. If he's ready, if he wants it. But, I don't see how mentally or physically he can keep up. I went to, here's the thing. There was a period of time in my life where my mental health was directly affecting my physical health, to a point where I went to the doctor, and the doctor's like, I don't know what's going on with you, but you need to figure it out because it's killing you. And so don't ever ignore the fact that your mental health can have a direct effect on your physical health and your physical well-being.
Yep.
And Conte, if he worn down, sad, he's grieving. Whether you like the guy, hate the guy, love Spurs, hate Spurs, it doesn't matter. The man is grieving, and I think he needs to go and take time to process that grief. So,
and Ricky's asking what you think of the Salernitana saga.
Salernitana is interesting. They have all the ability to be a top flight Serie A team. They keep signing old guys, and that's it's not going to work. They're going to have to get sorted. That they're skirting. Currently at 16. I hate to break it to anybody, but in Serie B right now, you have a few teams that could come in right now and do some work. And there's actually, I think, a more compelling story right now in Serie B than at the bottom of Serie A. And the first of that's Bari. So Bari is owned by De Laurentiis, who also owns Napoli. So according to Serie A guidelines, you can't own two teams in the same league. So which team does he sell?
Mm-hmm.
He has a better stadium situation at Bari. The city will let him do whatever he wants with that stadium. It's easier to refurbish, easier to modernize, which is what he's wanted at the Maradona for a long time, and the city has pushed back on it. But there's more value in the team at Napoli than there is at Bari. So he's going to be stuck with a conundrum. And another team that no one else is really talking about, and I wish to God I'd been able to get up there to cover them. There's an ethnically Austrian region of Italy called it's Bolzano, right? And so it's the team Südtirol. If you go up to Bolzano, they speak fluent German. They have been offered dual citizenship with Austria. That is a team that has been cooking quietly for a bit. So if there's a team that you're looking for that's a bit odd, is a bit weird, they're in a picturesque town, look at Südtirol. That's going to be a team that you're going to want to look at and kind of keep an eye on. And then don't forget those, we talked about big money. The boys from Palermo, currently sitting in 10th in Serie B, they are not too terribly far out from that playoff battle. So if Palermo may be a season away, but with the money that's being invested, and they're slowly, surely creeping up the table. So that's another thing to keep on. Look, Salernitana is going to have to revamp their player acquisition strategy. You can go and get old guys that are on their last legs of talent, and that's fine. But that's not going to sustain you. It may keep you from relegation, but it's not going to elevate you. So they have to decide whether or not they want to sustain or elevate. And so Salernitana, I think, they need to get that sorted and make some better investments.
All right, so now soccer on TV and juice boxes before we go. There's a lot today because Thursdays mean Europa League and Europa Conference League for a lot of folks. BN and BN Español have the Copa Libertadores at 7 o'clock. Zamora and Boston River. FS2 continues their coverage of the CONCACAF U17s. Cuba and Guadeloupe at 5. Costa Rica, Jamaica at 8. 2 to NA has Europa League, 12:45 and 3. Barcelona, Manchester United, Juve, and Nantes. 9 o'clock, Pachuca hosting Mazatlan. Unimas has Europa League with Juve at 3. Universo has the She Believes Cup at 4 and 7. Japan, Brazil, and USA and Canada. Keep an eye out on the Canadian team and what they do as a form of protest in this match. Yesterday at practice, they wore their practice gear inside out as a form of protest. Keep an eye on that. It's on HBO Max for those of you that have that.
I hope they walk the whole game. I hope they walk completely. Just so 100% total support with the Canadian women's team.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they walk, just like kind of gently pass the ball back and forth. No one's running. No one's running. We played the game.
Mm-hmm.
We were there. We held up to our end.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Paramount Plus has a lot of action. The Arnold Clark Cup, Italy, Belgium at 11:45, England and South Korea 2:45. 8 matches in the Europa League, 4 at 12:45, 4 at 3. 4 at 12:45 from Europa Conference League, 4 at 3. Peacock has She Believes as well. VIX has Europa League at 12:45 and 3. VIX Plus basically has the same lineup that Paramount Plus does with Arnold Clark, Europa League, and Europa Conference League. So very, very busy days. 12:45 going over your favorites and juice boxes. Our friends at Carabag are hosting Ghent. They're a favorite at home at a plus 125. Braga is a favorite at home against Fiorentina at a plus 142. Fiorentina to win is a plus 193. Trabzonspor and Basel. Apparently, this is still on the books, despite what the current situation in Turkey. So we'll keep an eye on Trabzonspor and Basel if that one does indeed happen. Bodo Glimt a favorite at home against Lech Poznan at a -106. Europa League, Barcelona, Manchester United. That's the one a lot of folks are looking at. Barca is a home favorite at a -128. Manchester United's a +375. Ajax a favorite at home against Union Berlin at a +110. Rennes a favorite on the road at Shakhtar Donetsk. I think this one's going to be played in Poland. Salzburg is a dog at home as AS Roma comes in at a +150. Campeonatos in Brazil carry you through the early part of the afternoon. The Arnold Clark Cup, by the way, is a women's tournament, 245. England and South Korea. England, obviously, a big favorite at a -714. Conference League, Lazio, big favorite at home against Cluj. Ludogorets, a favorite at home against Anderlecht. Larnaca is a +121 at home against Dnipro. And our buddies at Sheriff Tiraspol are a home dog against Partizan at a +194. Partizan's a +161. Bayer Leverkusen, a favorite at home in Europa League at 3 o'clock at a +110. Sevilla, a favorite at home against PSG. Juve on the minus side at a -278, hosting Nantes at 3 o'clock. Nantes is north of +900. Sporting CP and Midtjylland Sporting is a -286. That gets you through back into the Campeonatos, getting close to the dinner hour. You're getting into She Believes. USA is a -172, hosting Canada at 7 o'clock. You have Liga MX, Mazatlan and Pachuca. That one is Mazatlan's a +315, Pachuca's a -122. And that is your juice boxes. Anything else on your mind, Nick, before we go? I know that Bart is still reeling after what happened yesterday with Manchester City winning 3-1 over Arsenal.
Yeah. That was some fun moments in that game.
The FA is going to investigate Arsenal after objects were thrown at Kevin De Bruyne.
Well, yeah, I mean, then you have Arteta kicking the ball away, and it's lots of fun. Mm-hmm. The one takeaway that I have is that last night in the AmFam Cup, that there's a lot to be excited about for the youth. For the youth movement of Atlanta United. Brendan, that kid looks like he's, oh man, young, but good Lord, that kid looks like he's almost ready for showtime.
He's ready.
But, I saw a lot of stuff I liked. The attacking movement was beautiful. I mean, defensively, there were certainly moments that could have been cleaned up. The deflection, I mean, we've seen the world's best fall victim to a deflection. Don't know really what you can do there, but it's not the way you wanted it to end, obviously. But I think there's a difference between losing and having it be comedically bad, and losing and having it, with essentially Atlanta United 2 and Academy kids on the field for the second half.
And Toluca stalling against kids.
Oh, which is hilarious. But those kids didn't care, man. Those kids were going. They took the fight to them. Yep. I love seeing that, and I think that when the Minotaur comes into the team, that I think there's some opportunity here. I'm not going to go as far to say anything crazy, but I am going to say that there's opportunity here for some good things, and that makes me happy to see.
No doubt about it. We'll be back again 9:05 tomorrow morning to get you ready for the weekend. We're going to track down Nico Moreno, and at some point we will have Thursdays with Nico, whether it's on a Friday or if it's today. Later on, we'll let you know. NPSL 1v1 with a new club out of Charlotte, North Carolina area. That'll be up later today as well. And the high school game of the week, Central Carroll Villa Rica. That is tomorrow. I'll be calling the girls match. Jason will call the boys match, and that'll be on the app. I think it's 5:30, 7:30, but we'll keep an eye on those times. So Central Carroll Villa Rica tomorrow night for the soccer down here games of the week doubleheader. So Nick, if you would please, sir, send us home.
Until next time, everybody, please be kind to each other, take care of each other, and know that no matter what, we love you. All right, even if you disagree with us or say that we're putting you to sleep, it's okay. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. We still love you. We still care about you. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, mucha euro, y'all.
What he said. Play it safe, everybody. Mucha plata, y'all. We'll be back 9:05 tomorrow morning.